Story 1. My wife found out about my views on cheating, and realized I'd choose not to cheat because of our kids and not because of her, so now I'm in the doghouse. My wife is upset with me because of a conversation I had with one of my ex-friends this weekend. I have been friends with Jason, 38 meters, since high school. Our families are also close, and our kids are of similar ages. For context, Jason is married and has 2 young girls. Last month, Jason's wife Bree received anonymous messages about Jason cheating on her. She snooped around and learned that Jason was having a 2-year-long affair with one of his co-workers. Bree was devastated and reached out to my wife. My wife and I supported Bree, and she confronted Jason and kicked him out of the house. He is living with his parents now and trying everything possible to talk to Bree and make things right. I faced a tough decision but decided to be there for Bree and the kids and cut contact with Jason. He has been messaging me and trying to talk to me since then. Last week, his mom reached out to me and told me that Jason has not been doing well and has been having panic attacks and wanted to talk to me. I was reluctant, and despite my wife's protests, I decided to talk to him. He came to my house on Friday evening. My wife did not want to see him and stayed in our bedroom along with the kids. Jason was very apologetic and started telling me how he is so angry at himself, and how he broke up with his affair partner in order to make things right with his wife. He told me that he is also planning to leave his job and would do anything to get back with Bree and see the kids. He wanted me to talk to Bree so that he can at least discuss the situation and they can work on their marriage. I have never seen him cry and it was just horrible. He started complaining about how Bree has been ignoring him for the last several years and they were having problems, and that led him to make such a horrible mistake. I know it's not my place, but I completely lost it on him and told him to stop blaming Bree. If he had problems with her, he should have worked with her to solve them. Cheating on her is the worst thing he could have done to her, and he has no idea how hurt Bree is due to all this. I told him that he not only hurt Bree, but also messed up his kids' lives. They did not do anything wrong and now have to suffer due to his selfish behavior. I told him that I know that husbands and wives may have problems, but his actions are punishing his kids, and their lives will never be the same after this. I told him that I am angrier at him that he destroyed his girls' lives, and he is a monster if he did not think of them before cheating on his wife. We both argued for a while and eventually, I told him that I cannot help him in this situation, and we will stand in Bree's corner and make sure she and the kids are taken care of. He left after that. My wife was appreciative that I did not support Jason and did not let him blame Bree for his horrible actions. Before sleeping, my wife asked me why I focused on telling Jason that he should not have cheated because of the kids. She said that Bree's life is also destroyed, and she is never going to emotionally or financially recover from this for a long time. She feels that the kids are collateral damage, but Bree should be the reason why Jason should not have cheated. I told my wife that from my perspective, I feel worse for the kids because they had such a nice, stable home and Jason messed it up for everyone. My wife told me that she knows I would never cheat on her, but if I were tempted to cheat, would I stop myself because I love her, or would it be because of our kids? We also have 2 girls. I told her that the main reason I would not do it is because I have morals, but if I were playing her game, I would stop myself because I would never want my daughters to go through this horrible situation. My wife was upset and furious at the answer because she feels that she should be the number one reason why I would not cheat. I understand her point and I love her very much. However, I really want my daughters to have a wonderful, perfect life with 2 loving parents, and that would be the main reason I would never do anything to sabotage it. Am I in the wrong because I prioritize my daughter's happiness over the love towards my wife? Is that a normal thing to do, or is my wife right, and she should always be my number one priority? What do you guys think? Update. I wanted to thank everyone for all your suggestions and comments. The week has been crazy, and I am just left numb since what happened yesterday. I can't help but blame myself for the mess that happened so far. I agree with all of you who said that the comments I made were horrible, but it was just an emotional week, and I'm not sure I'm thinking about things right. On the night I posted, I had a very long conversation with my wife. I apologized to her for telling her that our daughter's happiness would be the main reason why I would never do anything to hurt our family. I told her that she is the love of my life and how much I value all the things she has done for us. I understand that she is my wife, and I made a vow to her to be with her forever, and I understand how my statement was hurtful to her. She was luckily very understanding and told me not to worry about her. She said that she was hurt in that moment, but understands how much I love our kids. She did ask me why I even kept on bringing up the kids during my conversation with Jason, as that was the point in my argument with Jason where I lost my cool. The thing was, when Bree kicked out Jason after learning about the affair, she was a mess. Bree is a stay-at-home mom and does not have many friends. My wife is probably the closest friend of Bree, and hence she called my wife to tell her about what happened. As my wife went to her place, I volunteered to pick up Jason's daughters and bring them to our house to give Bree some space. Bree was having a mental breakdown since the incident and my wife chose to stay at her place to look after her. I was watching the kids for 4 nights until Bree was okay enough to take care of them. Jason's older daughter, who is 8, kind of understood what was happening. However, his younger daughter is 4 and was just missing her parents. She is a daddy's girl and kept on insisting to me to call Jason to our place. It was heartbreaking to look at her and feel how irreparably her life will be affected because of Jason's selfish decisions. I just felt very sad inside during the whole situation. I understand that it is Bree and Jason's relationship, and I don't get to have a say, but I feel that was the main reason why I reacted the way I did. I feel lucky that my wife understood my emotions and was gracious enough to support me and not be upset with my unfortunate statements. She told me that she told Bree that Jason came to our home and about my fight with Jason. Bree felt hurt about it, but asked my wife if she could come to our house on Friday to talk to me. We met on Friday and Bree asked me about my conversation with Jason. I told her in detail about what happened, how Jason's mom reached out to me, and I met him because of that. I told her about how Jason told me he broke up with his AP and was going to leave his job to be far away from that situation. Bree asked me about our fight and why I said things about the kids. I was again honest with her about what I felt. I apologized to her for having opinions as it was their relationship, but I just said those things in the heat of the moment. Bree asked my wife and me if we think Jason can change, as she is also very worried about the kids and the impact on them. She said that Jason has always been an amazing dad, and she is not sure if she can raise the kids without him. My wife told her that what Jason did was horrible and unforgivable, but we do not want to give opinions on their relationship, as only Bree can decide what to do about it. Bree told us that she wants to talk to Jason, and if we could host both of them, so she feels safe. Jason and Bree came to our house on Sunday, and it was the first time in a month that Jason met his daughters. It was a very surreal moment to see how emotional he got after seeing them. I don't care what all of you say, but I know that I will never jeopardize my family because I would never want to be in Jason's shoes and how broken he looked when he had to face his daughters. There were a lot of tears all around. Bree and Jason discussed things privately. From the gist I got later, Jason apologized a lot to Bree and told her he would do anything to make things right. He told her that he has already put a 14-day notice at his workplace and vowed to never see or talk to his affair partner again. He told her that she could have access to his phone, and he will not take a job where he has to travel for work or stay away from her overnight. All he asked was for a chance to go for marriage counseling and work on things. He also offered that they could move to a different town near Bree's parents and get a fresh start. Bree accepted most of the things, except she does not want to move to a new place. They decided that Jason can move back into their house, and they will try to find a way forward from this situation. They both thanked us for mediating between them, and Jason also apologized to me for all the drama and told me that he will do everything possible to heal his marriage and make sure his daughters are taken care of. It all seemed like a good outcome on the surface, but my wife feels that my comments about their daughters may have guilted Bree into taking Jason back. I really did not intend to meddle in their relationship, and I know that they have a long rocky road ahead if they want to recover from this situation. I just hope that they find the strength to do that. I wanted to get opinions on whether what I did was right in this situation, as I feel I accidentally caused both of them to get back together, and if Jason cheats in the future, I might be the one to be blamed because I talked to Jason first, and then my words guilted Bree into taking him back because of the kids. Relevant comments. I hate to say this, but it eventually when he cheats again, or they break up, she is going to blame you and your wife for suggesting she stayed because of the kids, even though you told her that you and your wife would not give your opinions, you already had. Instead, what might have been helpful is letting her know that if he really is a great dad, he'll continue to be on no matter what. Even if they are not together. Divorce doesn't automatically mean raising the kids alone, and she should do whatever she believes would be healthiest for her and her kids. Staying for that reason alone often means more pain in the end for everyone, including the kids. The whole reason your wife was upset with you is because you were minimizing the importance of who you actually made vows to. The same thing is happening with Bree and her husband. I could be wrong, but usually cheaters are cheaters are cheaters. To be honest, this is exactly why I am feeling bad. I did not mean to, but my comments may have guilted her into staying with Jason. I thought I knew Jason for my whole life and never thought he was even capable of cheating on Bree. I don't trust him anymore and not sure if I can be great friends with him. I know Jason is a scumbag, but I hope that he rectifies his ways and does not hurt Bree again. I would always have it at the back of my mind that Bree might be in a crappy situation because of something I said in the heat of the moment. Story 2.
My guy best friend and I are being forced together by our families, because we are star-crossed lovers, despite us having our own partners, so I'm cutting my family and bestie off. I grew up with my family and another family whose parents were best friends with mine since high school. My parents had me, 28 feet, and my two older brothers, 31 meters and 35 meters, while their friends had 4 boys. Growing up was pretty nice, but the boys used to pick on me a lot and exclude me during their girls or yucky phase. I wouldn't say I see these boys as brothers, but maybe as cousins. I was close to 2 of the 4 boys, Adam, 27 meters, and Jake, 29 meters, when we were little. Until we were 15, we were really close and did a lot together. I don't talk to Jake much anymore. No hard feelings, but he grew up to be a classic tech bro and can be pretty condescending. However, our families are obsessed with the idea of us ending up together. The other guys are already married, and Adam is gay. They've always pushed for us to be together, making us go to the store alone at Christmas, telling us both an earlier time to meet at the restaurant for Dad's birthday, talking him up a lot, etc. Then both Jake and I met our significant others. I have been with my fiancé for 5 years, and Jake met his fiancée 3 years ago. Our families have been very disappointed and have not welcomed them warmly. One Christmas, I took Jake's fiancée, Tracy, aside and explained the weird family lore to her. With Jake, just like we did with my fiancée, we assured her that it was just a weird thing of our family and that Jake and I have not been close for ages and have never had more than a friendly relationship. Ironically, having to stand against our parents made us all a little closer. But we come to the problem. Jake and Tracy are going to get married soon, and it has been chaos. Our parents have upped their antics by 2,000%. Family dinners are full of, we thought you two would get married. They brought out a picture I apparently drew of me and Jake when we were little of us getting married. I suspect they made it. It did not look like it was made by an actual child. They were cornering Tracy about making me the matron of honor and letting me wear white. What? Also, his brothers and my brothers joined in, making jokes about us being star-crossed lovers and calling me the missus. I distanced myself heavily from my family during that time and stopped going home after talking to them did nothing. One day, one of my brothers invited me out. He said it was just my two brothers and me. So, I went to his apartment, and when I arrived, it was Jake's bachelor party. One of his brothers screamed out that the stripper was here, so damn you. I wanted to leave, but the next train left close to 12 a.m., and it was not the safest neighborhood. So, I stayed. They tried to make me drunk, were constantly physically pushing me and Jake together, and even locked us in my brother's bedroom. I could hear loud laughing from the other side. Jake and I did not talk much. He apologized to me and asked me if I could not come to the wedding as I made Tracy uncomfortable. I completely understood and said at that point I was not planning to go anymore. He offered to drive me home as he was also completely sober. When they opened the door, he said we were going home. In their heads, that meant we were going to be intimate or something because all the caveman sounds started. The next day, my phone was blowing up. Someone uploaded a video of me and Jake leaving and captioned it finally. It was very awkward. I am clearly uncomfortable, and so is Jake as we exit the apartment and enter his car. There were comments, calls, and texts. Tracy called me crying and cursing me out. Jake called me apologizing and telling me he tried to explain. My mother and his mother sent me a bunch of texts saying how proud they are and that it was about time. My fiancé is understanding, but he wants me to make clearer boundaries with my family. I drove past their house, and they were all there. They didn't even let me talk and were just love-bombing me. I started screaming and told them Jake and I have never and will never be together, and I will not be leaving my loving fiancé. That I would not be going to Jake's wedding, and if they kept up with this, I would cut every single one of them off because I am tired and just want to live my life, and not their incest fairy tale. By the end of my meltdown, my mother and his mother were crying, and my father just told me to get out. Since then, I have been getting messages from my brothers calling me a bitch for treating my family like that because they only wanted the best for me. What do you think I should do? Update. First of all, thank you all for your insight, especially those of you who reached out in the comments and privately with similar stories. I honestly thought my family was the only demented one, but apparently, it's a trend. My fiancé and I spoke and concluded that cutting out my family for now would be the best option. I sent a message to my parents and brothers explaining my decision to distance myself for the time being. I emphasized that while I love them, I cannot continue to endure their pressure and manipulation. I told them their behavior had made me resent them and, to some extent, Jake. They ruined any friendly relationship we could have had and made me feel gross and exploited. I told them they were setting me up to be SA Ed if it had been anyone else but Jake. I also told them that their controlling behavior was the reason I never told them about anything in my life. I told them it hurts to be with them, and I am in a bad mood for days after meeting them. I never look forward to holidays with them and have caught myself wishing I would get into an accident or get sick before the holidays to have an excuse not to go. They cut themselves out of my life, and they will not be there when I get married, have kids, or in any other life achievements. After sending the message, I left the group, blocked them all, and felt really light. I cried with my fiancé for hours, and I didn't really know if it was tears of sadness, relief, or happiness. I was so conflicted. I just kind of fell asleep. Jake has also cut his part of the family off. According to Tracy, he just went to their home, dumped a sack of their stuff on the table, told them to stay away from him, and left. His mother tried reaching out to me, and my father tried reaching out to Jake. Our fiancés had been targeted by them too. My parents sent the police to my house claiming my fiancé had me there against my will. We talked to the police. They couldn't do much but assured me that they would leave a note in their database clarifying that I am not being abused. I also asked how to go about a no-contact order, and they pointed me to resources. They also said they would tell my parents to leave me alone and noted that should they make false reports, they would have to cover the cost of the drive out to me. As of Friday, we have different numbers. Tracy is coming over this afternoon, and I am taking her to my nail salon and afterward, We are going to a game store because she really wants to play some escape games. Jake and I are still not close, and he is also not close to my fiancé. But he is happy that we have carved out a healthy space and that Tracy is so comfortable with me now in such a short span of time. They are reevaluating their wedding plans. Also, to the people that made fun of me for saying that I couldn't drive by anywhere without a car, I have a bike. Anyway, that was it. It was only a week, and I don't see this going much further. My parents are going to keep contacting me probably, but it's going to be all right. We are all right. Edit. Just one thing. Don't give me legal advice. Remember that we are most likely in a different country, and our laws and procedures probably don't apply to the ones you know. For example, the camera thing to have as evidence is a nice sentiment, but in Germany, it's difficult. We have super strict data protection laws that make things like a Ring camera unviable. Or a restraining order. The process here is not only to go ask and get it. But you can be well assured that I am looking into all viable options and am getting some legal advice from lawyers in my area. Anyway, thanks for all your help.
Story 3. I've been deeply in love with my best friend for years, but she doesn't know, so now I'm risking it all and pursuing it, even though she's married. Yup, I'm in love with my married best friend. We met in college and have grown together since then. Early on, I knew I had feelings for her, but she was dating someone else, so I never said anything. I wanted to be supportive, even though my feelings were hurt, but I never told her how I felt and didn't fault anyone but myself. She mentioned having a crush on me at the time, but I didn't dig deeper. I didn't want to be a homewrecker. By the time they broke up, I had moved away but kept in touch. I took a brief vacation back home and planned to tell her my feelings then, but she was in a relationship again. I never wanted to interfere with her relationships, so I just never said anything. In time, I found someone I thought was the one and married her. But the relationship soured, she became hurtful, manipulative, and isolated me from all the people I was close to, including my best friend. I did wind up getting a divorce and reconnecting with my best friend. She got married. Through everything, she never stopped being my best friend. Other friends came and went, but she remained. She helped me through my lows and understood why I'd disappeared. We always vibed with each other. We always connected on a deeper level than with anyone else. She understands how my mind works more than anybody else. She stimulates my brain and makes me laugh more than anyone else. She's the closest thing to a soulmate that I've ever had. For years, I've been deeply in love with her, and it hurts. It's been almost a decade, and my love for her has only gotten stronger, even when I've tried to get over it or deny it. I have loved others but not on the level that I love her. It's everything about her, her humor, her mind, her flaws. I love everything. Sometimes, my feelings leave me feeling both lonely and guilty while I'm talking to her. She isn't happy with her relationship. Her husband is hurtful, and she's fed up with it. I remain as supportive and objective as I can, even though it kills me. I see what we can be. I want to pursue it. I know she has some form of romantic feelings for me tucked away. What do? Do I just be supportive and see if it happens? Should I distance myself? Should I risk it all, throw everything out there, ask her to be mine, and hope for the best? I'm at a loss. Update 1. I outright told her a few nights ago, and she admitted to having feelings for me as well for the entirety of our friendship. We had a long conversation. I told her I never wanted to be a homewrecker or put her in this position, and if she needs me to go away, I understand. She doesn't want that. With everything going on with her husband, my support has been instrumental in her healing, despite us being states away. We've talked every day since my divorce, and pretty close to every day before that too. She's unsure about leaving her husband, despite everything he's done. I told her I'm not going to force her hand. I'm not going to beg for love. If she wants me, I want her to come willingly and not out of some misplaced feeling of obligation. We've still talked every day since that conversation. Our talks are noticeably warmer, and I'm optimistic about our future but terrified of ultimately losing her. Either way, I'm shooting my shot. She knows, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Update 2. Well, long story short, she's been my girlfriend for about 6 months. Long story long, not long after my last update, she caught her husband cheating. There had always been a suspicion, but this time the evidence was undeniable. Even worse, his circle of friends were encouraging and helping hide the affair. Since this man had forced her to move to a new town where she didn't know anybody except his friends, this left her both devastated and completely alone. I called as often as I could, door-dashed her meals when she was too depressed to eat, and helped walk her through the process of divorce and the grief associated with it, as she had done for me. I did not make a move during this time. I knew she was not ready. Then the holidays came around, and I was planning on flying into my home state to visit my family. She offered to pick me up from the airport, and I accepted. When I arrived, she jumped into my arms, giving me a long hug, and things just felt right. As time went on, we began to act more like a couple, until making it official in January. Since then, we've both visited each other and been growing stronger together. There are hurdles and scars from our past relationships, but we have so far been on a good path. I hope one day she can move here with me, or I can move there with her. But for now, I just take it day by day. I'm dating my best friend, and it feels very good. I can't believe it's happened, and I want to thank everyone for the support.
Relevant comments. Hi, it's the girlfriend here. My ex was not a nice man. He left me to care for myself when I had to have emergency brain surgery. He used me for money and even wrote a song stating as long as I kept my thick thighs around him, he'd keep his mouth shut. During the proceedings, he attempted to hide more than $11,000 from me. I didn't start dating my best friend until after the divorce proceedings were over. By then, my ex was on his third girlfriend and had moved away. My best friend saved me. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be alive today. So everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I will say this, I refuse to apologize to my ex for what he did to me.
Story 4.
My male bestie and I were going on an exciting island vacation together, but now that he's got a girlfriend, she's trying to force her way onto the holiday. My best friend, 47 meters, and I, 43 feet, booked to go to an island we'd both been keen to visit. We booked a 2-bed cabin, and because of the popularity of the place, we had to book and pay 10 months in advance. We split the cost 50-50. 2 months before we were due to go, he met someone, and they started dating. The holiday came up, and understandably, she was a bit uncomfortable with him going with me. I was given an ultimatum, either she comes, or the entire holiday is called off. I didn't say yes immediately because I needed to check with the accommodation since the island has a limited number of guests allowed, and I needed the okay from them first. My hesitation wasn't taken well, they thought I wasn't keen. I got back to them within 24 hours and said I'd gotten the all clear for his girlfriend to also come and that she could book plane tickets for herself. A week later, he informed me she had the tickets, and I asked him if we could discuss rebalancing the accommodation costs now that there were 3 of us coming, as it should now be a 3-way split. I was surprised that he responded with anger. As far as he was concerned, the accommodation was paid for, and it was wrong and greedy of me to expect money from his girlfriend. He told me that he was paying for the entire holiday for his girlfriend, so it was still going to be just him and me paying, making it unfair for me not to pay for half. I told him that there were 3 adults, 3 people, and a 3-way split. If he chose to pay for his girlfriend's share, that was his choice and had nothing to do with me. He told me his girlfriend was going to buy me a cocktail to thank me for the accommodation, but if I was going to insist on a split, then I could forget it and buy my own damn cocktails, as he couldn't believe I was being so selfish. The thing is, a cocktail is $15, and I was currently covering half her accommodation costs, about $600. I don't think I was wrong for asking them to cover her share of the accommodation. I hadn't even met her yet, but they thought I should cover her costs because it was already paid for. What do you think? Was it harsh of me to insist she pay for her share of the cost? Update 1. Thank you, everyone. It's interesting to see the various lines of thought. It seems there's a split between those who think everyone pays equally no matter what, those who think a couple sharing a bedroom should be treated as one person cost-wise, and those who think the costs should be split taking into account the shared areas, 1/3 per bedroom, 1/3 shared spaces. With this in mind and everything else going on, I called the accommodation and discussed options, then called my friend. I explained to him that we'd made the agreement to split everything equally when there were only 2 of us going, but I no longer felt that agreement was fair. I suggested the third option, splitting the cost of the communal areas 3 ways but setting a cost per bedroom. I also stated that any food, activities, etc., wouldn't be split anymore, we'd each be responsible for our own, and they could decide as a couple how they were paying for themselves. It didn't go down well at all. He didn't see why he should be out of pocket because I decided to go against our agreement that I'm paying 50% of everything. I stuck to it and said that I'd be willing to negotiate the accommodation costs, but there was no way I was going to pay half for his girlfriend's activities, dinners, or drinks. It was ridiculous for him to think I should be paying half of his girlfriend's costs, especially since she's a complete stranger, and he'd already asked me to change all of our previous plans to suit her. He called me a B-word and told me I was acting crazy. I stopped him and said that from that, I don't think this holiday is going to work. I had spoken to the accommodation, and I was going to cancel as of today. I told him if he still wanted to go, the accommodation would hold open the booking for him for 72 hours, and if he confirmed with them, I'd instructed them to hold on to $1,800 as what he'd contributed to the booking and refund me the rest. He and his girlfriend would have to pay the hotel to finalize. If they didn't confirm, I'd get the refund for the whole amount and then forward him his share. He went quiet, then told me that since I was changing the rules at the last minute, I should leave the entire accom payment because it wasn't his fault that I no longer wanted to go, leaving them in the lurch, and I would be ruining his holiday with his girlfriend. I told him I was canceling and I would definitely not be paying for any accommodation I wouldn't be using. I might have been a little petty when I told him he'd still be paying for his girlfriend's costs. It would just be a little bit more than he was expecting because I was no longer going to subsidize them. I canceled my flights and the accommodation and emailed him all the details. Relevant comments. Who is this guy to you? How did you meet him? How long have you known him? I cannot fathom someone expecting this from someone else. It sounds like an oblivious, self-centered sibling taking advantage of a family bond type of entitlement. This can't have been the first time he has done something this inconsiderate. I'd known him for 5 years, as a friend. Yes, I've had some issues with him for lack of empathy regarding others and some general selfishness. He was a mid-40s guy that basically never had a long-term girlfriend. I just sort of went with it too used to doing his own thing to pay much attention to it. We have traveled together before, just us and in larger groups. I have issues in the past with his lack of planning, leaving a lot up to me, but his entire personality seemed to change overnight when he started seeing this new girl. Nothing was good enough. Before he'd at least discuss things, talk options, this time was like hitting a brick wall. His way or no way, decided this was what was going to happen without talking to me, and then got angry when I wanted to discuss it first. Update 2. I haven't kept in contact with them for obvious reasons, but through some mutual type of friends, I found out the following. They plan to go but tried to find cheaper accommodation on the island, so let the hold expire without making any contact with the accommodation. From my understanding, everything was booked up completely that weekend and for the next 6 months. They lost the option to use the cabin, and someone else immediately booked it when it became free. There's a wait list. I received back the full deposit and immediately transferred his portion to him as I stated I would. Never got an acknowledgement he received it, but it was an account I had paid into previously and my bank assured me it was good. A mutual friend told me the ex-friend was pissed off, as, against my advice, he had bought non-refundable or non-transferable plane tickets and refused to buy travel insurance, so he's out the cost of those fares, about $3,200, and that because I pulled out. His holiday with his girlfriend was totally ruined and I owed him an apology and the cost of the fares. Not going to happen. As for myself, I've booked a holiday back at the island where I am in a single apartment by myself and plan to have an awesome time.
Story 5. My dad remarried, and forced me to live with the most horrible step-siblings you could imagine, so I'm looking for a way out. So, my dad married my stepmother 3 months ago, and I feel like it has made my life significantly harder and less pleasant. They moved in with us, and this situation will not change for the foreseeable future. We have a 3-bedroom house, and before they moved in, my dad and I had our own rooms, both with bathrooms, and there was a smaller room that was my dad's study. After they moved in, Jenny, 16 feet, soon to be 17 feet, got my room, and I had to share the smaller room with Tom, 11 meters, and Mike, 10 meters. All my books, my telescope, and my stuff are now packed in the basement since there's no space anymore. This made me really angry, but my dad told me that I have to be a team player, and this is what he and his wife agreed on. Jenny treats me terribly. Sometimes she acts as if I'm not there at all, and sometimes she is super aggressive and hostile towards me. The other day, I asked Tom to stop going through my things, and she became so angry, saying that, "You have no right to order my brother around." She told me to get it in my thick skull that I'm not their big brother and can't tell them what to do, even though all I asked was for them to stop going through my things. She said it's best if I don't talk to them at all since that way, they will get less influence from a weirdo like me. What I don't understand is that if she's so concerned that I might be a bad influence on Tom and Mike, why doesn't she take them into her room? Tom and Mike don't respect any boundaries. They're always going through my stuff. I have a watch that was a gift from my mother, she died of cancer, and they took it from my drawer and lost it. I found it weeks later in the basement with its front glass broken. Before they moved in, I used to get a $100 allowance every month. Now Jenny gets $75, I get $35, and Tom and Mike each get $30. I had an Xbox, but these kids broke it. I used to spend a lot of time with my dad. He used to come see me play basketball almost every week. He hasn't done it even once in the past 3 months since he's always working overtime. We eat out once a week, and none of these outings in the past 3 months have been to any of my favorite places, but Jenny, Tom, and Mike have each chosen their favorites more than once. I complained about all of this to my father last week, and he told me that family is all about sacrifices and that I have to make mine. Haven't I made enough sacrifices already? I feel like I'm the only one making sacrifices. I looked forward to them moving in here, but now I feel like an outsider at home. It's not my home anymore. Life has become very difficult for me. I spend as much time as I can outside because being inside is so frustrating, but this is causing problems as well. My dad keeps telling me that not being around means I'm not accepting them as part of the family, while in reality, it's the opposite. So I get grounded for not being around, and being around is horrible. I don't want to live here anymore, but I'm only 15 and can't move out. I have nobody else who can take me in. I can't stay here for 3 more years. I'll go crazy. I often fantasize about running away at night, but I know that's just as horrible, if not worse. I don't know what to do. Can anyone give me a suggestion? Relevant comments. It sounds like Jenny is the biggest problem. If she's 17, is the plan for her to move out soon? Maybe you can talk to your dad about getting your own room and having the two younger boys share. She's not going to move out. She will live at home when she goes to college. Parents already have given her the permission to do this. Update. I decided to just ask my dad and stepmother for some time to talk to them, and I showed them my post. They took a good half-hour reading it. There were times when it looked like they were going to start crying. Eventually, they told me that they need more time, and we'll talk about it in a couple of days. 2 nights later, my dad asked me to come to their room, and to make it short, they got it. They both hugged me, and at some point, my stepmother started crying. They apologized to me for their negligence and told me that they messed up. They put all their attention and focus on helping my step-siblings adjust to the new living arrangement and neglected how difficult it must have been for me. They promised me that things will change. Regarding the room arrangement, they realized that it was not reasonable. So they offered me the basement, as many of you suggested. We went to the store and bought a lot of supplies and made it a family project for everyone to help refurbish the basement and make it like a bedroom. So I'll have my own room now. It won't have a bathroom like before, but I can share a bathroom with the boys. That's not a problem. The money allowance changed as well. It was Jenny $75, me $35, and Mike and Tom $30 each. Now it's Jenny $60, me $50, and the boys $30 each. So $15 from Jenny comes to me now. I think it's much fairer. It's not as good as the $100 I used to have, but this arrangement is something I can easily understand and accept. Now to Jenny. Well, my stepmother told me that Jenny's problem is not with me. It's that her mother married, and she doesn't like that because she was hopeful that she would return to her dad. Now she's trying to make this not work, and I'm just in her crosshairs. Apparently, she's been a little difficult with my dad as well. She promised me that she will handle Jenny and make sure she won't be a problem. Now to the boys. This is the most difficult one, as they're 10 and 11. They gave me a small lock so I can lock my bag for now, and when the basement is ready, which will be in a couple of weeks, I can lock its door, and only me and the parents will have the key. So at least my stuff will be safe. About other things, they also made little changes to make things easier. They told me that I can come to them with any problems, and my dad promised me some father-son time every couple of weeks as well. I was happy with everything. They addressed most of the issues and found solutions and have so far done their best to do everything they promised. Jenny came to me a few nights later and asked if I would come with her for a walk in the neighborhood as she wanted to talk to me. So we went, and she apologized to me for everything. She told me that she didn't and still doesn't like that her mom married my dad, and she was directing her anger and frustration towards me, the only person she could, which was not right. She said that I'm probably going through similar things as she is, and really, there's no reason for us to make each other's lives even more difficult than they already are. So I accepted her apology, and we shook hands on being on the same team from now on. Honestly, she's been very different ever since. She's helping me a lot in preparing the basement, and she makes Tom and Mike help as well. The other day, when I asked Tom to turn down the TV volume and he refused, she told him to listen to your big brother. Yeah, good things. I hope she remains this way. Overall, things are a lot better. I trust my stepmother a lot more now. Jenny is much better than before, and we're becoming more and more like a family. The place looks and feels like home again. Thanks for all your suggestions and help. I owe you all a lot. Story 6.
My red flag boyfriend has been hiding his phone from me, so when he was sleeping, I snooped on his phone and discovered why he's been acting sus. My boyfriend, 28 meters, and I, 32 feet, have been together for 7 years. A few years ago, when Rona hit, I moved in with him as we both lost our jobs and needed to save money on gas and utilities. Since then, I have found a new office job, and he takes odd jobs online, but he basically stays home most of the time. He has always been on the controlling side. He wanted me to cut all my male friends out of my life. In hindsight, I know this was a red flag, but in his defense, he also cut off all contact with women, at least to my knowledge. He has always been adamant that he doesn't condone cheating, and he claims he would cut anyone who cheats out of his life. Our relationship has had its ups and downs. We have had our fair share of arguments, and a few months ago, we hit a rough patch. However, recently, things seem to be looking up, or so I thought. My boyfriend has become quite guarded with his phone lately, hiding it if I look over his shoulder. This behavior is very unlike him. I'm very open with my personal tech items, and he's always welcome to look through my phone and laptop because I have nothing to hide. We even know each other's phone passwords. My gut feeling kept telling me that something was wrong, so this morning, while he was still sleeping, I did something I shouldn't have. I took his phone from the nightstand and checked his conversations. He has been chatting with a girl he met online, 34 feet. I only skimmed through the last few messages because I didn't want him to wake up and catch me snooping, but they have been texting back and forth every day while I am at work and sending each other photos. I was so shocked and disgusted. I don't know when it all started, but I assume it's been at least a month because that's when I first noticed the Seuss phone guarding behavior. Honestly, no matter how much I look for a solution, there's no coming back from this. I know I have to leave. I haven't confronted him yet because I don't want him to try and persuade me to stay or spin it to make it seem like it's my fault. I also don't believe in closure, so there's no point in telling him that I know. Here's where I need advice. I have a place to move to, and I need to move all my stuff. I don't want him to damage my belongings out of spite. He has a history of throwing my possessions when angry, so I'll have people help me move when he's not home. We have separate finances, so that's not an issue. The problem is, we have a cat. I adopted her with his approval when I moved in with him. Technically, she's my cat since I do 90% of the activities. He rarely takes her out, and I buy all the cat toys and food. Basically, he's the fun parent who only gives pets and hugs. I know he loves the cat, and the cat loves him, but I don't think he would be able to take care of her. My cat is also used to the house and us, and he might be stressed out if I move her. Should I take the cat with me without telling my soon-to-be ex, or should I leave the cat with him? Another thing I need advice on is whether I should leave him a note or a message with any explanation. Thanks in advance. Update 1. First, I'd like to thank everyone who commented. A few people asked for an update, so I hope you're ready, and please brace yourselves. One particular comment stuck with me: your pet doesn't know what's best for them. They could roll in literal poop and be happy, which really solidified my decision. After reading all the comments and deciding to take the cat, I called my best friend, her boyfriend, and my parents to tell them about the breakup and discuss logistics. I also asked them not to mention anything in writing in case my boyfriend saw the messages. It took me quite some time to put everything in motion, 3 weeks, to be precise, during which I did my best to act like everything was okay while secretly moving some of my stuff to my parents' place to ease the final load. Finally, last Friday morning, my best friend, her boyfriend, and my dad came over. We loaded up everything on my father's truck and left. The whole ordeal took 2 hours. I was amazed at how much stuff I had accumulated in just 2 years. I took everything I paid for out of my pocket, including a monitor and a headset I had lent him after his equipment broke, and he never bought new ones. The only thing I left was a queen-size bed I bought shortly after moving in. I also made sure to log into my ex's World of Warcraft account to cancel his subscription, which was paid from my bank account. I left a note on his desk that basically said, "Do not panic, you have not been robbed." I just took all my stuff and left. I'm taking the cat with me because I don't trust you to take proper care of her. Do not call me, my friends, or my family. We have already had the talk, so there's nothing else to say. Have a nice life, your ex. I didn't tell him I knew about the cheating because, at this point, it was irrelevant. In retrospect, it was just the last straw on top of many other problems. But hindsight is always the clearest. I blocked his number and never looked back. Sure enough, he messaged me on WhatsApp as soon as he came back to the empty flat. The gist of his messages was that we could have done it the civil way, Lamau, and asked why I took the cat this way, saying we raised her together and he loved her. He also tried to call 3 times but gave up soon after. I then blocked him on WhatsApp as well. The next few days were pretty uneventful. Yesterday, he showed up at my workplace unannounced. I was pretty annoyed but didn't want to make a scene in front of my colleagues, so I took a break and went out with him to the park across the street. Knowing him, he wouldn't just leave me alone. He said he wanted closure and that I owed it to him after all these years. The conversation was mostly boring, so I'll highlight the important details. He said he wanted my monitor back and was willing to pay for it or trade me his new one, which is better but wasn't with the same curve that he was used to. I told him that I liked my monitor and tough luck. The best part is he went out, bought a new monitor, set it up to play WoW but realized that I also took the headset. He then asked his mother to buy him one and she bought headphones without a mic. Pity. He asked to have the cat back. He offered me money, all his crypto savings, and even 60k gold in WoW. I mean, wow, really? I told him some things can't be bought with money. He then asked to co-parent, and when I said no to that too, he asked to at least say goodbye to her in person, also denied. I brought up that I was the cat's primary caregiver and he couldn't even clean her litter box. He replied he could, when push comes to shove, but didn't since I was doing those things anyway, despite him being in the flat almost 24/7. I also pointed out that if he really loved the cat that much, he'd want the best for her and to be with the one who takes care of her instead of wanting to keep her for selfish reasons. He kind of agreed on that. The most baffling part, he offered to pay me to go grocery shopping together. We used to do that all the time when we were together. I pointed him to a couple of sites where he can buy groceries and have them delivered. He said it was too much work. I told him to adjust and evolve. He also apologized one too many times for hurting me, to which I replied every time that I wasn't hurt. I was just disgusted and cringed at the conversations I read, to which he got offended and mumbled that it was private, you know. Not once did he mention the side chick, even then he didn't have the balls to admit to the affair. In their messages, there was a recurring joke that if he came to the hotel where she works, they'd have to do it in the janitor's room. I brought her up a couple of times, told him I wish them both the very best, and since I left him the bed, he doesn't have to worry about trying to fit in the janitor's room anymore. He asked to be friends multiple times. I told him, also multiple times, that he betrayed me. He's a pathological liar, and I don't want to be friends with a dishonest person. He couldn't comprehend how his dishonesty impacts a potential friendship. He said he wanted to tell me he wasn't committed to me anymore but couldn't bring himself to do that. I pointed out the hypocrisy of him blowing up at me for platonically talking to male friends online while he cheated the moment a semi-attractive woman came his way. He said that a woman cheating on a man is the greatest sin but a man cheating on a woman is not so severe. What the actual flip? The rest of the conversation was him trying to play buddy-buddy and talk to me about his life, and me reminding him that I'm not interested in his life and that he's a closed chapter to me. After what seemed like an eternity, we said our, hopefully, final goodbyes, and I went back to work. In conclusion, for the past week since I left, I felt like a huge load has dropped off my shoulders. I have all the time in the world, I'm working on myself, I'm reconnecting with people I haven't talked to in years, and I'm trying to live my best life. I don't regret anything. There were good times, there were bad times, it was a valuable experience and a lesson learned on what to look for in a partner and, more importantly, what not to overlook. Huge thanks to everyone who commented on my post. You really gave me the push I needed to make what I hope is the right decision. Update 2. I was contemplating whether to make this last update or not. A bunch of things have happened since I last posted and eventually, I figured we are all more or less people who laugh at their own farts and enjoy the occasional justice boner, so I decided y'all might appreciate how karma has caught up with my ex. Disclaimer and some background, I left out a lot of information in the original post and altered a lot of details to make sure X does not find the post and connect the dots. My ex had a chronic disease, nothing fatal if threaded, very manageable, and a lot of people with the condition can work. He was of course using it as an excuse not to work, even online work, and mooch off me. We lived with his mother who was supporting his narrative that he is too sick to work. X was hurtful, first only verbally but it progressed to physical abuse. I omitted most of this information in the first post because I wanted an unbiased opinion whether to take the cat or not. Even though the cheating was the last nail in the coffin of our relationship, I was actually contemplating leaving him for almost a year before the actual fact. My last update was a year ago, and ended with my ex coming to work to offer me pixel money for my cat. I thought everything was said and done and I would not hear from him again. Spoiler, I was wrong. Since the breakup, he has messaged me about every 3 months on Discord with various nonsense, like how he lost his best friend, or asking for photos of the cat. I didn't block him there in case either of us needed to exchange items we forgot at each other's places. In March, I found out by chance that he's still using my old League of Legends account. He has been banned on 3 different accounts for toxicity. I gave him the password while we were dating, but I didn't think he would have the audacity to continue using it after we broke up. The kicker is, all he had to do was ask me, and I would have had no problem with it. It really rubbed me the wrong way that he could message me with his woe is me crap on 4 different occasions but conveniently forgot to mention that he was still playing on my account. I wondered for about a week whether to let it slide or just change the password. Then he contacted me again, wanting to ask me something. I shot this down and reminded him that I explicitly told him not to contact me. He said okay. This lasted for a fortnight until he messaged me again, saying that he would ask his question regardless. I pointed out how I told him not to contact me and he couldn't even respect that. So he has learned nothing and still does not care about other people's boundaries? The question was, what did it feel like to be with a complete monster for 7 years? Why did you stay so long? Apparently, the lad was going through some kind of epiphany phase. There were a lot of crocodile tear-laced explanations that followed, with the gist being that he was doing some reflections, realized he is a complete lunatic and needs help, and apologized for how he behaved. I also found out that he spent all his savings and disability money, including the crypto he offered me for the cat. So he could not take me up on the offer to buy my LOL account. Also, to nobody's surprise, his little affair did not work out. I did not ask for details, but he said, I think I finally met a person who is more sick and broken inside than me, which is quite an achievement. A few months prior to this revelation, a WoW friend from the side chicks country messaged me. For context, we are all Europeans and play on the same servers. This friend knew my side of the story, and when he found out that the side chick was flying to my ex's country, He put two and two together. He told me he did not expect much from their relationship, since a year ago the chick was dating a mate of his, broke his heart, and flew somewhere else for the next wow guy who gave her attention. Knowing these facts and after what my ex said, I mentioned to him how it was ironic that he cried cheating. If I was 5 minutes late after work, but decided to involve himself with a woman who was practicing cheating as a sport. He agreed that it was quite ironic indeed and that he had to lie in the bed he made, which was sort of mature on his part, I suppose. Also, did I mention he was too dumb to wire his own debit card to his WoW account, which is why he could not play anymore? Well, yeah. But I guess also because he lost his sugar mommy who was paying for it and failed to secure another. As for me, Kitty and I are thriving. I'm active, I lost 12 kilograms since the breakup, and I am getting back in shape, even though I lost the excess weight the moment I dumped the ex. I have reconnected with most of my friends and apologized for not contacting them very much in the past 7 years, explaining why. They were very understanding, and things have gone very much back to how they were before. I have also met the most decent, kind, and compassionate man out there. So, life is looking good, smile. Thank you for all the support, and have a great life.
Story 7. My girlfriend and I wanted to take it slow, but while I was being faithful, she was taking it slowly from another guy. I have been with Steph for close to a year now. Since specifics matter, we started dating around last Thanksgiving, but it was only about a month later when we said we were in an official relationship. I really like this girl from the get-go, and we've gotten very close since then, and we're actually planning on moving in together soon. Here's the problem: recently, Steph and I ran into a guy at a small get-together with mutual friends. They exchanged a weird look like there was something between them, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. During the party, something came up about the place Steph went to for a date. The time was clear since it was a Christmas market in my town, and again I thought something was off about the guy. Well, later that night, I actually got a text from him. He got my number from one of the mutual friends, and he said, "Hey, I don't know you, but I thought you should know that Steph and I hooked up right after Christmas." I confronted Steph about this, and I could tell she tensed up right away. She got this sad look on her face but confessed immediately. She said she had met this guy on Tinder and slept together a couple of times but stopped any contact before we became official. She said she wasn't sure we would get into a relationship at that time, but she still felt bad that I found out this way. She said she considered telling me but was afraid it would ruin things between us. I told her I needed some time to think and proceeded to get drunk that night and ignored her texts. The thing is, I feel very betrayed and am really considering ending things. Sure, we weren't official when this happened, but we had already been on multiple dates at that time, and I thought it was pretty clear that we were moving towards a fully fledged relationship. On my side, I had no interest in pursuing other girls at that point because I only wanted to be with Steph. And on her end, she was definitely hinting at us evolving into a couple and strongly hinting at exclusivity. The other part that kills me is that during this early stage, Steph specifically said she wanted to take things slow physically until we knew each other better. But during this same time, she sleeps with a guy she barely knew from Tinder? When I asked her about this, she said it's different because she took it slow with me specifically because she thought we would get into a relationship, but it was somehow different with a casual hookup. That logic makes zero sense to me. I don't really want to talk about this with my friends because I think they would hate Steph if I end up staying with her. But I would like to hear opinions on here. Would you stay in a relationship like this if things were going well, but the beginning was so shady? What do you think I should do? Relevant comments. In my opinion, if you're dating someone and moving towards a serious relationship, you don't freaking bang other people. This would be a deal breaker for me, but you do you, man. If you can't get past it, then end it. Yeah, that's how I feel as well. It would have been one thing if she was just talking to other guys in the early stages while we were still defining things. Of course, that's fine and normal. But it feels like a slap in the face that she found another guy to sleep with after we had already gone on quite a few dates and I made it clear I thought we were moving towards a serious relationship, which she seemed to also acknowledge. There is no way she didn't know I would feel hurt that she did that. Her logic made no sense to me. She tried to explain that with guys she wants to be in a relationship with, she wants it to feel special and wants to build an emotional connection. But for guys she sees no future with, she sometimes just wanted some physical fun that meant nothing. But I just can't wrap my mind around that. It feels like a gut punch that as we were getting closer and building a connection, she didn't want to be intimate with me but instead preferred to find someone else. No matter how she rationalizes it, it's hard not to feel like a second choice of sorts. Update. I decided to break up with Steph. I kept going back and forth because I was worried I was throwing away a great thing over something that happened in the past. But the problem is, I thought I really wouldn't be able to get past it. I can't help but think what she did was really crap. Yes, I know that technically she did not cheat. But she knew that I wanted a real relationship and that we were potentially moving in that direction. But meanwhile, she expected me to plan, and pay for, interesting dates, court her, and prove that I was worthy of her while she happily hooked up with randos who basically did nothing but show an interest in fricking. Frick that. In a follow-up conversation, it also came up that her friends sort of guided her to act like this. They suggested she should allow herself to have fun and keep her casual options open, but with me, to make me work for it and show that I wasn't just looking for bedtime wrestles, but was capable of being a committed partner. The whole thing just seemed so manipulative and ugly, and these were also mutual friends who I consider to be nice girls and now my friends as well. Now I never want to see any of those pieces of crap ever again. Anyway, I know this is starting to sound a bit like a rant lol, but I felt pretty pissed off and basically called it quits. The actual breakup was quite unpleasant. No harsh words were exchanged, but Steph cried, and we kind of talked about some happy times. I guess that's the hardest part about this. I don't think she is a bad girl, and maybe we could have had a nice future together like we did over the past few months. But in the end, I do think I made the right decision. I want to be with someone who treats me well from the get-go, not someone who manipulates me while playing games just so she can have her cake and eat it too. Thanks everyone. Story 8.
I used to be best friends with my dad, but his new family and conspiracy theories have made me resent him, so I'm feeling guilty for loving my stepdad more. When I, 15 feet, was younger, I had a very good relationship with my dad. My parents divorced when I was an infant, but I spent weekdays with my mom and weekends with my dad. My dad and I were like best friends, and we had a simple routine every weekend where we'd get 5 Redbox movies to finish during the weekend, we'd go fishing, we'd play soccer, and we'd bike to this little secret playground near the zoo. Something else I was used to was my dad always having new girlfriends that never lasted more than 2 weeks. The only one who lasted longer, a woman I really liked who lasted 2 years, left my dad when I was 10. But my relationship with my dad was the same as ever until I was 12 and my dad met his now wife. This woman has 2 kids, one older and one younger than me. They moved into my dad's apartment after only 2 weeks. My room was already small, but my tiny mattress and 3 small plastic drawers were shoved into the corner of the room to make space for the daughter's bunk bed and dresser. Before I knew it, they started putting my bed in a closet until I came to visit and often would forget to take it out at all. When my dad moved into a bigger house, the older sister got her own room while I had to share one with the younger sister every weekend. The 3 small drawers I had were soon just one drawer because the little sister wanted the other 2 for her toys. Slowly, I started visiting my dad less and less. Then everything went especially wrong when my dad got his girlfriend pregnant after 1 year. They got married and I didn't know that for a whole month because he didn't even tell me. I also didn't know my baby half-sister was born until weeks after she came home from the hospital. To make his new family happy, he started spoiling them and stopped paying child support for me and my mom. His wife is a jobless gold digger who only cooks and cleans and shops, her older daughter is having her college paid for by my dad, and the younger daughter is the definition of a 10-year-old Sephora kid. As for my half-sister, she is still a toddler but is clearly spoiled and hates the word no. The routine I used to have with my dad is now gone. As for my stepdad, he's been with my mom since I was 5. Apparently, though I don't remember it, I once called him dad and because of that my dad told me I shouldn't love the man like a dad because he's not really my father. Apparently, that's why I started acting like I hated my stepdad. I never knew why I felt that way about him since he'd never been anything but good to me, and in the last few years I felt much closer to him. He feels like the dad that my birth father should try to be. Over time, my dad has started to treat me differently. He rants to me about his political beliefs and conspiracy theories about aliens and stuff. He also brags about his new business and his new family, and if I ever try to share anything with him he gets annoyed and shuts me up before continuing with his stories. It's like now he sees me as a buddy rather than his freaking daughter. Also, it was during these last few years that I learned the reason he and my mom divorced was not because they weren't right for each other but rather because my father cheated on my mom while visiting his family in Canada. I am now 15, and I have become a completely different person than the one my birth dad remembers. I no longer love the beach or soccer and I now love music and reading and writing. I have written and published 2 books since 2022, and am writing the 3rd in my series. My stepdad supports my dreams and loves me so much that he brags about me to friends and family and calls me his daughter. My stepdad has an actual daughter who I love like a real sister, though she lives up north with her boyfriend and I don't see her often. Still, though, I love them more than I love my birth dad and half-sister who I'm actually related to. My dad blames me for never calling, though because of how he's treated me lately I don't feel like I owe it to him. I also go months at a time without visiting him now because I no longer feel comfortable at that house. Especially since the bed I sleep on over there is literally considered as their guest bed. In my birth dad's house, I am a guest. Because of all of this, I resent my dad. I haven't told anyone about this so no one is calling me a jerk, but I'm wondering if I am because my dad is in love with his new family and I'm wondering if it's a bad thing I'm not happy for him. What do you guys think? Update 1. Hello. So, a few months ago I talked about how my dad has basically stopped treating me like his daughter now that he has a new family. Not much has happened since, but here's an update anyway. So, since I made the initial post, I've only visited my dad's house once and, safe to say, I truly am nothing more than an uncomfortable guest in that house. I should start off by saying that every time I spend a few months without going to his house, my dad tries to play all innocent and calls me on Fridays to ask when he should pick me up. I never answer because he always calls me when I'm in a class or busy with studying, so he'll call my mom. But because he never asks me in advance, I tend to have plans on weekends with my cousins, friends, or just to work on writing since I'm still working on my third book and it takes a lot of focus that I can't get in his house. Actually, I'm now just gonna call him Pete. He's honestly not been as much of a dad figure to me as my stepdad has. Anyway, it was my mom who had decided I would go over to his house. Despite the fact that Pete hasn't paid child support in over 2 years now and I hate going to his house, my mom says I should just visit from time to time to keep him from getting the court involved. She confuses me, sometimes saying that he's a deadbeat man, but also sometimes saying that he's my loving dad who deserves my respect. However, under the circumstances, I'm fairly certain that nothing would be any different since I never visit him and he doesn't pay child support anyway. In fact, once on Christmas, he bought a bunch of new gifts for his family and wrapped them up and everything, but weeks before Christmas when I was visiting, he drove to Walmart so his wife could do groceries, and he handed me $200 and said, "Merry Christmas. Buy yourself something and the rest can be child support or whatever." I bought 2 books, but the rest of the money that was supposedly child support was nothing near to the amount he owed. I have told my mom I would be happier if he lost custody of me and my stepdad adopted me, but she thinks that's too extreme and says, "He's still your dad. He deserves your respect and love." Now, about the weekend I visited him, from the minute Pete picked me up, all he talked about was his new family. He talked about the older sister and her boyfriend, the younger sister and the shopping she does, and my half-sister who can now talk a little bit. I stayed silent the whole ride until he asked me a question about my school, and when I answered his question he got frustrated and went into a conspiracy theory rant. I tuned him out for the rest of the drive after that. The rest of the weekend wasn't any better. The older sister did what she always does when I visit and locked herself in her room, only coming out when I left the house or when I was in the bathroom so she wouldn't have to talk to me. And the younger sister had a friend of hers over and her friend had her stuff tossed on my bed and was sitting on it because it's the bed she sleeps in when she has sleepovers. Pete's wife did a poor job of hiding how bothered she was by me visiting. More than once, she has been completely shocked I was visiting because Pete didn't tell her so she couldn't disagree. And also, most of the weekend consisted of Pete taking me and my half-sister to a playground so she could run around with her friends, and I sat on a bench to read but I didn't have much time to myself since Pete kept leaving and told me to keep an eye on my half-sister who is a wild and fussy kid. I am not a babysitter, and while I am good with kids, that does not mean I enjoy putting my own time aside to look after them when they're not my responsibility. I had to spend 2 days in either pure chaos or discomfort, and I had a talk with my mom about me not wanting to go over there anymore. She said that's fine and she won't force me to go anymore, but since she's said that before, I don't believe her. I don't have anyone to really talk to about this, and this whole situation is stressing me out because I don't remember my dad ever being as happy as he is now, and I still sometimes feel like I should be happy for him. I don't know what to do, and any advice on anything I could do would be helpful. Everyone who's commented on my last post so far has said I'm not in the wrong and that Pete isn't acting the way a dad should, but he still reaches out from time to time and says I'm his baby girl who he loves. Honestly, I almost cry whenever he says that because it reminds me of how we used to be. Am I overthinking all of this or overreacting? What should I do? Update 2. Hello, everyone. It's only been a couple of days since my last post. Since then, I have taken the advice most of you have given me and I talked to my mom about how I don't want to keep being forced by her to visit Pete, my seed donor, as most of you refer to him as. Long story short, I'm not 100% sure she won't continue to send me over to Pete's house, but she did wind up sending him long texts, chewing him out for not treating me right and telling him to step up and pay his child support. He didn't answer her though, so I followed some other advice and wrote him a long text myself that detailed how I felt about his treatment of me the last few years. The thing is, as soon as I sent that text, he called me to yell at me and called me spoiled and overdramatic. He said it's my fault we don't have a relationship since I never visit or talk to him anymore, and because I mentioned the unpaid child support, he said that I was only reaching out to him for money. I nearly cried during that phone call and wound up just hanging up on him. He sent some angry texts to my mother as well. But later that day, he left a voicemail on my phone saying, "Money is kind of tight for me right now. I'm completely broke. You know I love you, right?" The thing is that I know that's a lie because I'm always seeing my younger stepsister make TikTok videos showing off the Sephora and other expensive crap he buys her all the time. I think I'm done trying. And some of you suggested asking my stepdad for help. I wish I could, but when I asked my mom again if he could adopt me, she said something that absolutely crushed me. Apparently, my stepdad himself said he doesn't feel like he should adopt me. My stepdad is a very kind and sympathetic man, but he's also extremely unconfrontational and thinks it would be like a slap in the face to Pete if he adopted me. Also, because I noticed some confusion about this in the comments on my last update, the reason my parents divorced was because he cheated, but it wasn't with his current wife. My parents split up when I was still basically an infant, and Pete lived in Canada where he jumped from girlfriend to girlfriend there before he moved down here and continued to jump from girlfriend to girlfriend. When I was 12, he met and knocked up his wife, Alejandra, and married her without telling me till a month after their courthouse wedding. Also, some of you asked how old I am. I am 15. It feels ridiculous that I have this stress on me at my age, and I can't really talk to anyone about it. I can't talk to my stepdad because he's always working and I'm only ever with him when my mom is there too, and I don't like talking to her because she always tells me that I'm too young to really feel how I feel. The last time I tried to discuss my mental health with my mom, I asked her if I could start going to therapy and she said that therapists are dumb and that I can just talk to her or pray to God if anything is wrong. I'm not super religious, and talking to her about anything serious makes me deeply uncomfortable. It's not that I don't love her, since she is my mom after all, but she's pretty intense and intimidating. My dad has not reached out to me again since his voicemail. Frankly, I don't want to even think about him for a long while now. If he suddenly realizes how badly he screwed up with me and apologizes, then maybe I'll try to rebuild our relationship. As for my stepdad, he may not want to adopt me, but he still calls me his daughter, never just his stepdaughter, and I truly feel loved by him. I love his parents like they're my own grandparents, and his whole family is so warm and loving. I might make another update if anything else happens, but for now I'm just going to focus on school and my books. Maybe now that I understand that Pete really doesn't care that much about me anymore, I can finally focus on finishing my third book. I dedicated my first book to him, and I honestly don't regret it. I dedicated that book to the dad he used to be. It's not like he'll ever read that book since he doesn't think it's smart that I want to be a writer, but I don't care. I'm done. Update 3. So, a lot of you were saying that I should talk to a school counselor or something. The thing is that I do virtual homeschool, and my mom works from home a lot, so I'm honestly just a bit too scared to try that. Plus, even if I did talk to my counselor without my mom being around to hear, I really don't trust any adults to keep these kinds of things to themselves. I know that sounds a bit dumb and paranoid, but it's really just how my brain thinks. A lot of you also said that I should bring up the therapy thing with my mom again, but I know for a fact that won't work. My mom really doesn't believe in therapy and believes that praying to God or having her preach about the Bible to me will solve everything. As for my stepdad, I love the guy like a real father, and I see him as my true dad even if he doesn't want to adopt me, but he really is no help with the therapy issue either because he always just agrees with whatever my mom says to avoid arguments. But I'm doing fine right now though, and I honestly think things are going to start getting better. And I think this because my mom is finally going to file for sole custody and court-ordered child support. One thing I guess I should have made clear is that my parents sorted out their custody and child support agreement amongst themselves when they divorced. The agreement is that I spend weekends with my dad, and he pays my mom $100 per week. I'm pretty sure my dad only stuck to that agreement to keep himself looking good until he could finish his U.S. legalization process, since he used to be an immigrant from Canada. Once he was legalized, he stopped paying child support and began spoiling his new fam. Anyway, I went to my dad's house last weekend. This time, my mom didn't force me, and I actually decided I wanted to go because I wanted to give my dad one last chance. He picked me up from my mom's house, and we didn't get down the street before we were fighting. I was excitedly telling him about a business idea I had where I can make book boxes and sell books with DIY necklaces and hand-painted bookmarks that match book covers, and he was telling me my idea was stupid and unprofitable and a waste of money and time. It was an hour-long drive to his house, and he was getting political or angry over every little thing I said. When I told him I was thinking about applying to colleges like Harvard or University of Chicago in the future, he began to yell about all the dangerous Cuban and Mexican immigrants in Chicago and began saying that Harvard is a waste of time since it's just as good as any other college but rich people go there, which is why it's so famous. I ended up yelling at him that he can't act so high and mighty over non-white immigrants because he was also an immigrant not too long ago. Also, I never understand why it is my dad is always so racist about Hispanic people when my mom and his current wife are both Latinas. He went on one rant after another, and I was so sick of it that instead of staying quiet like always, I actually argued back. Because of that, my dad spent the whole weekend complaining about my bad attitude. I told my mom about all of this. I think the final nail in the coffin that finally pushed her to want sole custody was when I told her about a rant my dad went on about the difference between men and women. I wound up memorizing and writing down everything he said and texted it to my mom. I asked her not to talk to him about it, but she was pissed at him. Here are some of the things he said. 99% of women want to latch onto rich men, nearly all women are greedy and unloyal. Men don't like successful and independent women because they're prideful and bossy. It's more important for a wife to respect her husband than it is for him to respect her. It is wrong for wives to make more than their husbands, and so much more. And then he smiled and said, "But you're the exception, pretty girl." What the hell, dog? There was so much more that happened just last weekend, like him saying some of my guy friends don't count as real men since some of them are gay, and trying to tell me my summer volunteering opportunity in DR is a bad idea since the people there are different, even though my mom's side of the family comes from there. I won't list every annoying thing he did, and I'm finally done. This was his last chance, and he blew it. I just want to say my mom is not sending me over anymore. She spent all morning looking for my birth certificate because she needs it for court. She wants to get me full-time, and have my dad pay child support. At the moment, he owes a lot of child support, and having him contribute financially would help me so much with preparing for college. I'm looking forward to a happier life. Thanks for all your help.